All righty. Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful, muggy Saturday morning out there. I'm Ryan, joined today by Joel. We are Michigan Storm Chasers. We do have a risk in place today across the entire lower peninsula of Michigan. We do have a level 2 slight risk in place for a pretty big chunk of lower Michigan. It does exclude some places like Detroit, also Gaylord, Alpena, Sheboygan areas, but that slight risk does include some big population centers such as Grand Rapids, Lansing, Flint, Mount Pleasant as well, any place in between. If you see yourself in that yellow risk area, that's the area of concern today, of higher concern, should I say. All right, so this is the SPC risk, entire state in a level 1 and level 2 risk, but what are the hazards? Go ahead and start with the first one, damaging winds. Damaging winds should be the main concern. It also is driving the slight risk here. 15% risk there for the exact same corridor as the outlook is posted. Grand Rapids, Mount Pleasant, Flint, Lansing, Alma, Saginaw, all the way through the northern and central parts of the thumb. So that's going to be your main driver of today. Secondary risk of tornadoes. Yes, secondary risk is what we said. It's going to be a 5% risk up here for places like Mount Pleasant, as well as Flint, Saginaw, and Alma. It is a 2% risk, so a little bit lower in the green areas. So Grand Rapids in that 2%, Lansing in a 2% as well. Detroit does miss out on the tornadic threat today, but you are close enough. Just watch just in case. But right now it should be to your north there. So that's going to be the favored corridor up there in red that we're seeing on the models. So it fits quite well. But the third threat today is hail. It is a 5% as well for the entire state. There is no slight risk here for hail. It's just going to be a 5% here for, again, the entire state. So it's a little bit lower of a risk, but don't be shocked if we get some large hail filling in there at some random locations today. All right, so two main threats, damaging wind, number one, tornadoes, especially in that red corridor, number two, then hail as a third. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the models. What are we looking at today? So first and foremost, I want to bring up the live radar to show you guys what's going on. So it kind of matches up with the model here. This is your live radar look across the state. We're going to be looking at the showers and storms moving through the central and northern part of lower Michigan here. We're going to watch this closely because the models today are showing a pretty good picture of what's going on now. And that picture could become quite messy later on this afternoon. Flipping back over here to the model, we're going to look at this large shield of rain crossing into northern lower, but we don't have any rain to the south here, so it should allow instability to build in further south. But up here where the 5% risk for tornadoes and slight risk really is, the big question mark is going to be how much can we destabilize the atmosphere? Because if it rains all morning and into early afternoon, that rain can and will stabilize that atmosphere. So if it happens that way, the risk is still there. It's just not going to be as high of a concern. All right. But this model does show these storms that do fire up roughly right around 2 p.m. around Mount Pleasant area. Go ahead and zoom in here. We see these storms starting to fire up right there around Mount Pleasant, just north of Lansing, between Lansing and Mount Pleasant area. This is at 2 p.m. Let's go to 3. It develops even further here. It becomes what looks to be a supercellular thunderstorm here over the Tri-City area. So over like Bay County, Aranet County, those particular areas. That's 3 p.m. Let's go up to 4 p.m. It pushes into the thumb, as well as down here by Flint. And again, a storm up here by, again, this Bay County area. Then we turn attention back to the west as an approaching line of storms potentially may redevelop here later on this evening. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that as well. But the main concern is going to start roughly 2 to 3 p.m. there within that 5% risk area, or the 2% and 5%. We're going to say a slight risk corridor to call it a broad general area here. So expect storms to begin becoming a concern right around 2 to 3 p.m., especially on that Mount Pleasant area. All right. Looking at, this is the NAM3 model. Let's go ahead and jump back into the HRRR. It has a little bit different solution, but we're going to look at it nonetheless here just to get an idea of what this is saying as well. This is the 13. Let's go back to the 12Z. There we go. So we're going to look at this. Again, showers and storms moving through the state now. It's going to clear a little bit. Storms develop roughly 3 to 4 p.m. right there, a little bit further north on this model. This is 3 p.m. We have some cells strengthening over the Roscommon County area. up by the West Branch area, and then this is going to continue. This is at 3, 4. This is 5. They become what looks to be supercellular in nature, and that's going to cross over into Iosco County as well as the Tri-Cities again, Bay County there as well. So similar picture being painted. Attention turns back to the west there. It looks pretty messy, and it very well could be messy. But the environment today, the wind shear, if we get enough instability to work with the wind shear, things are going to try to be damaging. They're going to try to produce damaging winds as potentially as well as a couple tornadoes. The wind shear is well oriented today for those if we get the instability. So keep that in mind. It could go messy pretty quickly, but the environment, if we can destabilize, will be a concern. Looking at the future of mesoanalysis here, looking at the RAP model, I believe is what this goes off of. We're looking at our surface-based CAPE already in the state right now. It doesn't look to be that concerning. We are still capped, but that cap should lift pretty much as we get into the early afternoon hours. Looking ahead to this, this model does say that we destabilize quite a bit there. We have a large destabilization corridor within that slight risk region for those storms to develop. So across the state, lower Michigan especially, pop-up storms are possible as well. Those could carry downburst, microburst type of winds. The main concern for severe is, again, tied to that initial band of storms moving across the state. Around that 2 p.m. time frame, we're going to start looking, just to get there about 3 p.m. All right. Looking at our SLIM today, we're going to go ahead and pop open a model here really quickly. So SLIM is going to be a little bit lacking in instability according to the model here, the HRRR. We're going to have enough of it to warrant attention, but it's just going to be a matter of how much of it. All right. So we have a corridor up here of roughly about 1,000 joules of surface-based CAPE. It'll likely be a little bit higher than that. This model does like to underplay it just a bit. I think it is underplaying it just a bit. Looking at our wind shear and all that kind of stuff coming together, we're going to have a nice wind shear across the state today, especially up here within the slight risk area. So your shear is good. Your instability is there as well. Looking at your moisture, your dew points, we're going to be looking at our about 60, upper 60s, low 70s dew points there across that risk region. And then as well as our source of lift, we're going to have a pretty good mechanism of lift today. If I can find that. I don't have that here. Let's go ahead and check over here on the NAM. But we do have a source of lift here. We looked at it last night. It was -5, -6, which is roughly on par with what we want to see to get storms up and going here. There's lifted index, a little bit weaker than yesterday, but still enough there, -4, -5 across the slight risk region. So again, looking at everything coming together, it's definitely conditional based on instability. And I'm going to say it again. It's conditional based on instability, but if we can build instability, the wind shear, the moisture, everything is there to warrant concern for severe weather, including tornadoes, but mainly a driver of damaging winds. All right. Main time frame again, 2 p.m. to right around 10 p.m. Could go later than that if that second line develops and matures. We'll watch that. But main time frame 10 p.m. again today.
And Ryan, if you want to look at the WPC real quick while I kind of go over some things. From a meteorological standpoint here, I go with mispronunciation on that. Your greatest chance for severe weather today will be where you are in location of that warm front, especially early on in the day. Okay, so that first round, maybe even the second round if there's 2 rounds involved. Again, this timing we're looking at probably anytime after 1 o'clock, mainly from points west and then east. So again, if you're within, probably 50 miles of the warm front, you're going to have the greatest chance at seeing severe weather early today. And then as we were showing in our models, that last kind of sweeping system moving through would be after dark tonight. And that's like a damaging wind threat for pretty much everybody. So again, the early threat's going to be the further north you are, the better chance you are at probably getting it today. And then also we did have a super chat from Blaine or Bruh. He says, "Good morning, guys. Out here in Tuscola County, the 5% tornado risk for today. Preparing for these storms this afternoon." Thank you, Blaine.
This is your excessive rainfall risk today. So slight risk up there in northern lower as well as eastern UP. That's going to be for flooding. And flooding is definitely a concern today. A lot of moisture out there, a lot of heavy rain. So keep an eye out. Don't drive through flooded roadways. It is a risk today. We're going to communicate to you guys. So anywhere in those greens and yellows, be concerned. All right.
Yeah, flood watches are all the way down to almost the Grand Rapids area and Flint area now too.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yep.
that.
So now here in Mount Pleasant, we got one early this morning.
I see that now.
And heat advisories are still in effect for points Grand Rapids South too.
Yeah, I actually can pull that up really quickly. I have GR2 overlaying the risk areas here, so I can't give exact counties out. I could. It'd take a while though. But down here in the orange, that's your heat advisory. Up here in the green is going to be your flood watch. So we'll see. As far as severe watches go, we definitely could get one later on if everything comes together. So I know there's going to be some questions in chat about that. It's a possibility. If we know anything about that, we will post immediately on our Facebook pages.
Yeah, timing map today was kind of a meh shot because you have multiple rounds coming through. I don't want to put out a graphic saying, oh, here is the start of the timing. And then once it comes through, you don't want to be like, all right, well, that's it. When you could still have that, leading line or that final line of storms coming through later tonight beyond like 9 p.m. Yeah, I'm here in Mount Pleasant right now. I'm right in that target for the 5%.
Joel will be chasing today, I assume.
Yep, from my front porch. I got a little caught up on my sleep, yeah. Yep, we are live as always. For those who are new here, we do that for every single severe thunderstorm warning. So yesterday, we were actually in the room for many hours yesterday. I was out actually chasing yesterday, and nothing went severe, which is, a shame, as I like to say, because I had good structure shots yesterday, and of course, nothing to show for it. So we'll say cloud deck wise, it's down at probably about 500 meters here, which is pretty low. You want low LCL heights out there today if you're looking for severe weather. Did they get the hodograph thing fixed yet or no?
Good question. Your LCL there at Mount Pleasant, it says 410, 500. 500.
Yeah, it's pretty low. It's like fog almost out here right now.
Hodographs are not fixed.
Yeah. We have a lot of chasers out today. We're working on making a list to put on the page here after the live stream.
I also just want to mention here as well, mesoanalysis is updated. Cap is gone or weakening. 1,000 joules of surface cape up to your house, Joel.
Nice.
So we're destabilizing already. Here's your bulk shear. Again, corridor up there within a slight risk of 35 or so knots. That will increase, as we see here on the forecast model, into the evening, up to about 40 to 45 knots of that, which is going to be plenty. Your lifted indice is about 4 right now.
It's already impressive. Especially,
yeah,
it's probably highest right around where the front's at right now. If you go and look at surface analysis in terms of temperatures in the MEDAR stations.
Right.
And again, you can see where that warm front's located when you have a southerly wind meeting a pretty much easterly wind. That's right about where the warm front's at. So it's pretty much right over my apartment right now.
We zoom way in here. The arrows you see on your screen there are wind directions. So here's southwest winds up here, but then notice up here by the Tri-Cities are coming out of the east. Yep. So your warm front's right around the Mount Pleasant Tri-City through the thumb area right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to go,
look at those dew points.
Yeah, we're already at 70s dews, so it's definitely moist out there, guys. But we do cool down just a bit tomorrow, so we're going to get a little bit of a break from the heat for most of us here. I think the high is still going to be in the 80s, but it's not going to be 90 and with a heat index of 100 like we have been having. Tomorrow's high for me is 80, which is going to be a much, much appreciated break from the heat.
Yes, if you're on the edge of the slight and marginal, remember it's 25 miles within a point. So if you're like right on that edge, then you're pretty much in the higher risk. Again, these are probabilities too. So in that yellow is 15% wind, and in portions of the yellow as well, 5% tornado. But that tornado threat, I think, is going to be confined to probably the early rounds of storms. If I had to guess, that line that's coming through later tonight is going to be mainly in the threat of damaging winds. You could still see a QLCS bird fart happen, as we like to call it, for a spin up tornado. But I think the main threat later tonight is going to be that damaging wind threat.
I would agree with that too.
Yeah. And again, we don't have a timing map out, mainly because there's multiple rounds expected. A lot of rain training over the same areas, and funky things can happen also within just rotating rain showers. So, and again, the closer you are to that warm front, especially this afternoon, the better chance you have at seeing all hazards.
Chance for enhanced risk, pretty unlikely. This is way too messy of a setup to increase our confidence, or not our confidence, but SPC's confidence. Enhanced risk are usually safe for like widespread damaging winds, like outbreaks of tornadoes. No, we're not seeing that today at all.
I don't see a 10% hatch tornado threat either. I think 5% is probably peak. If it were to go to enhance, I would say probably for wind, especially for that late line. But again, that's very low chance at this point.
Yeah.
But again, we'll communicate with that with you guys. Josh, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the team. Thank you for your support. I'll stick around. Earliest start time probably around 1 or 2. Mainly if you're probably a little bit west of me, so kind of that confined West Michigan, north of Grand Rapids area. It depends on where the warm front kind of fires things off at. But confidence is lower if you live in Southeast Michigan today, for sure. I would say that, Ryan.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's also, not only is there, I think there's a little bit of a cape issue, but there's a little bit of a capping issue down there as well. At least when I looked at the models last night. Call them warm front riders, storms that can attach themselves to the warm front and just constantly get all that spin. Sue H, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the team here at Michigan Storm Chasers. Appreciate your support. Glad to have you on board. Where is the cap? Right now, I don't think it exists.
It'll come in a little bit later on today.
Yeah. Again, we will be live if there's severe weather happening. So that's one of the ways you guys can be warned or be updated in case severe weather is happening and you're not sure where. We'll cover that. And then usually when we do these live streams for severe weather, we're always covering the towns that are in the path or downstream in the path, like in a county way. So kind of a precursor for that is later today, we might have people asking, will my city in the path of the storm? Now, necessarily, we would, if we have time, we might, expand downstream and get the bigger picture. But in most cases, when you have multiple severe storms kind of going on, I like to just cover the severe storm. So it's always important to know where you're located on a map. Gina with a $10 super chat. Any idea what Macomb County will be like later today? Ryan, you want to answer that?
Macomb County is kind of borderline between a slight risk here and a marginal risk. You do have a threat for severe weather. We do think it's a little bit higher off to your west. But again, the atmosphere, if storms can make it and survive over to you, would have potential for damaging winds primarily and a low risk for a large hail event or two. Main time frame on that, I would assume, is going to be a little bit later on this evening, perhaps after sunset for you guys. But again, if anything pops up throughout the day along like a late breeze, that's also a possibility of becoming strong to severe. Highest chance later on today, though.
Yeah, Bob with another 10 gifted memberships today. Bob, thank you as always for your support of the channel. Again, if you are a subscriber here on YouTube, first of all, it's free. And second of all, check your accounts. If you're a subscriber here on YouTube, you may have just gotten a gifted membership. So thank you very much. And again, sometimes our members do like to do these membership giveaways. So more incentive for you guys here on YouTube.
Yeah, they are the memberships here. When people gift those, are randomly chosen. We don't choose those. The person who gifted it doesn't choose it. It's strictly YouTube. So unfortunately, we can't give you guys memberships and pick and choose who does. But
Ryan, I have a couple people asking me if I'm breaking up. Does it sound like I'm breaking up to you?
I haven't had an issue with you.
Okay.
If it is, it's probably our software doing it because
Yeah.
No problem here.
I saw a comment about how do you guys choose the area that you plan to chase in? It's basically we kind of go off the mesoscale analysis. It updates every hour. That's the map that Ryan was showing you guys, that one right there. It has a bunch of different like ingredient tabs that we call them cheat codes. And we kind of look at all of them kind of combined and where all the ingredients come together, and mainly the key ones. So like when we talk about Slim, we're also looking at Slim behind the scenes, and we kind of pick a chase target off of that. We also have things like 3 Cape and Surface Vorticity we also look at.
Everybody's saying our audio is breaking up. That's weird. Have to go back and watch it. Hold on.
Huh. Because I can hear Ryan just fine, and Ryan can hear me just fine. So it could be on YouTube or Facebook's end.
I pop open YouTube here and see.
I can hear myself. Rainfall is definitely, you could see maybe, I think it's like potentially 3 inches in the slight risk zone today from the Weather Prediction Center. They have a discussion on that, right? Ryan. No, Ryan can't hear me.
No, I can hear you. I was listening to the YouTube stream. You're breaking up just a bit, which is weird.
Okay. Let me exit out and come back in then.
Whoa, big face. Sound like that. All right. I believe he was asking about the Weather Prediction Center's the probability discussion. I believe that's what he was talking about. I'll wait for him to pop back in here, though. Regardless, guys, severe risk here in place today. Just tuning in, we got a slight risk in effect for a good portion of lower Michigan, Mount Pleasant, Grand Rapids, Lansing, Flint, Saginaw, the main cities involved. Here comes Joel back. Wait for him to get connected here, get him in. There we go. See if that fixed it. What were you asking me, though, Joel?
About the discussion for the rainfall, because I know people are asking how much rain they're expecting today.
I don't see an ND out for that.
It would just be on the day one, probably, for WPC.
Probabilities are high for 2 and 3 plus inches for day one totals, and then 10 to 30% for 5 plus inch totals.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot of rain expected. It's worse.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's not on my end.
It's perfectly fine between Ryan and I. So
it's weird.
That's so weird. It's got to be the site problem, because I'm hearing them hearing Ryan perfectly fine.
I'm crackly now really bad. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's not on us. It's literally YouTube or your Facebook.
It could be our software too.
I don't think it's I think it's probably the site.
Both Facebook and YouTube though.
It's doing it on another live. Okay, so it isn't us. Oh, we can't really restart the stream. It would just make another one. But if it might be a site issue.
Hopefully it's fixed by the time we get around to coverage today. Let me go ahead and just mess with the audio settings behind the scenes here and see if it fixes anything.
Yeah. Someone said, close the stream and rejoin. Now it's fine. That might be one way to go. Try it on you guys' end. Try to exit out and come back in. As I was gonna say, it just started raining here in Mount Pleasant. Maybe it's, shield overhead or something.
Yeah, typically when we have like connection issues and audio issues, we get notified on our software. There's like a little connection bar that says, hey, you let low connection or whatever. We're not getting any of that today.
Yeah.
Which is
like
weird.
one of those little low Wi-Fi bar things that you see. We're not seeing that. Again, the hazards today: 15% wind, 5% hail, 5% tornadoes, as well as I believe the slight risk 15% or less in terms of rainfall too. That was a marginal last night when I looked at it, so that's why I said so in the 2 a.m. update. But it has changed; it's jumped up to slight, and now that moderate risk is up to the Lake Michigan shoreline for rain. So
yeah, that's not your severe risk, it's just your rainfall risk, to make that clear.
At least that one is, yeah.
Yeah, this one is.
So if you live pretty much north of like M46 tonight, so that's basically a line from let's see, Muskegon over to Cedar Springs, over to like Elma, over to the Thumb. If you live north of that line, first of all, you're under a flood watch. Second of all, rainfall could be over 2 to 3 inches tonight. But first line here around and after about 1 or 2 in the afternoon is mainly going to be wherever the warm front decides to set up. So if any storms can become attached to that warm front, that would be something we're going to be watching. And right now, it currently looks like it's going to be north of Lansing, north of Flint. But again, shifting can change. And of course, if it goes severe, we got you guys covered here. So first of all, like the stream if you haven't. Second of all, if you're not following us, turn on notifications. Feel free to do that as well. That way you can be notified when we go live. Although some people lately have not been getting the notifications, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But we do know on YouTube, at least, you should get a notification.
No, first line should be well north of Jackson. See a comment there. I'd be more concerned in Jackson for that second line later on tonight. And again, it's going to be conditional on how much instability is going to be out ahead of that line. Because it could be very disorganized, but there's also a chance it could organize.
Has there ever been a 5% hatch tornado threat? They used to have them a lot more common. They only do it if they're confident in strong tornadoes happening, but only like if a tornado does happen, it would be strong. But that's a very rare chance they issue a 5% hatch. So
I believe they're going to be bringing that back at some point.
Yeah. Now that we have decent forecasting.
Right. SPC, I believe, is in the process of making some changes that are going to roll out next year.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have some interesting things to go over next year if that actually does roll out publicly.
Yeah. So it would like an example would be today where storm coverage in the first line could be limited, for example. So that means like 5% chance of a tornado, but anything that does latch that warm front and happens, then it could be strong. But again, we don't have 5% hatch, we just have normal 5%. But slight risk could fluctuate a little bit. Again, everywhere in the mitten today is projected to have some sort of severe weather potentially. Again, as you can see there in the green and the yellow, even the marginal risk areas are severe weather possibilities today. Again, a lot of you guys are probably going to see mostly rain today. Again, we can't really guarantee severe for everybody given that it's a marginal risk. And then the slight risk is still kind of low, but greatest chance of severe, if you are going to get it, is going to be within that slight risk zone.
Hannah, it came out at 8:06. So it was about an hour early.
Was it an hour early?
Yeah, up here has issued 7:06 Central, so it'll be 8:06 Eastern.
There's no change from the 2 to 8 a.m. then, probably.
Right. Not expecting that, Mike.
Again, they're determined on what they hit, though, of course.
Right.
So
The whole,
if it levels like a barn or something, then yeah, maybe.
Is the 5% conditional? The entire risk today kind of is conditional, although I think that we can go ahead and say there is instability building in ahead of that first line here. So that will be a concern. The second line still in question, though. So it's conditional on instability for sure across the entire board. And if anything changes, we'll let you guys know on Facebook and post about that.
Mm-hmm. It's raining still.
Is Grayling in the slight risk? So Grayling is close to the slight risk. So within a 25-mile point, technically, yes, you are. But regardless of any level of risk, the entire state is at risk today. Doesn't matter if you live up in Sheboygan or down there in Coldwater or on the state lines. You guys are in that risk, whether it's level 1, level 2. It's a risk nonetheless. It is highest, though, in that slight risk level 2 yellow area. Next update for SPC comes out at 12:30 p.m. So we got 2 hours to go.
Yep. Yeah. The good news is for people who are looking for much needed rain, I know a lot of the drought-stricken areas actually got rain yesterday. However, today is a heavy rain event. Most importantly, probably, especially for places north. You guys will probably get some sort of at least weather today in terms of precipitation, so that's good. Some of you guys may get too much rain, so we'll again keep an eye on that. Become the Michigan flood chasers.
All right, I see a lot of questions here about specific areas and times and stuff like that. So we're going to call it 2 rounds kind of today. Let's go ahead and dive in again. So keep an eye. It's important to know where you live on a map here. So here's Michigan up here, Detroit over here on the southeast side, Lansing over here, Flint's over here, Grand Rapids is over here, Mount Pleasant right about here. Go ahead and look at this model here. Round 1, tornadic round potentially. Our main concern for a couple tornadoes is right here, 3 p.m. These storms develop here in north central lower Michigan toward that Mount Pleasant area, right over Joel's house, essentially. So he'll be live there. This is 3 p.m. All right. That's going to be round 1 skirting across north central lower Michigan. Notice how the southern part of Michigan is completely clear here as of this model. All right. We go into the afternoon. That continues eastward across into the West Branch area into the Thumb potentially. So Huron County especially needs to be alert. And that does look to be a supercell there in nature. So that could be tornadic, but main threat still damaging winds as well. But do keep in mind that the risk for tornado is definitely there if that still actually verifies. Then attention then turns back to the west. This line right here approaching, that is going to be a damaging wind risk. And if it organizes well enough, potentially a QLCS, which could spin up a few tornadoes as well. Low chance of that, low confidence of that happening. The model still currently does not show it organizing quite well, but it does push. This is at 6 p.m. here. This is 7. Here's 8. Here's 9. Here's 10 p.m. And it keeps on weakening here as it pushes across the state. Here's midnight. Here's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and 3 a.m. So the overall risk today, main concern starts at around 2 or so p.m. up there by Mount Pleasant corridor from basically Big Rapids over to Huron County in the Thumb. And then further south, nothing really pops up on these models. But again, some pop-ups are possible along lake breeze boundaries and stuff like that. So if anything does pop up down there further south that's not shown in this model, potential for damaging winds is possible with downbursts and microbursts. Main line after that comes in roughly 6 p.m. and after. And again, we'll have to keep an eye on how organized that becomes, because there is a chance it may not be organized at all.
Summer with her first super chat. Thank you very much, Summer. Will you guys be uploading a time frame map? So again, we actually just went over the time frames. I might do something a little bit different this time in saying where severe is expected for each round, perhaps. Where the greatest threat of severe is. Again, you should just expect anytime after 2 o'clock today, severe is possible. Just kind of as a preliminary. But again, the further south you go, the less confidence we have in actually severe happening, especially early on. And being away from that warm front.
I just saw a comment. Just want to point this out on our SPC post this morning saying it's not even going to rain in Mount Pleasant. It's about to rain in Mount Pleasant.
It's raining in Mount Pleasant right now. I can confirm. I'm looking out my window.
If you're getting your information saying like that from your weather apps, this is exactly why we don't trust weather apps. just had to laugh at that real quick.
Again, the limiting factors for today will be probably Cape. Again, we have a lot of cloud cover today, so Cape may not be as great. So that's your instability. So the I and Slim, for example, we have plenty of shear, plenty of lift, especially with that warm front in the vicinity. That lift is going to be very prevalent today. Moisture, we have dews in the 70s here today for sure. So I think the limiting factor is going to be your I when it comes to Slim, and then a little bit of a capping inversion as well further south you are.
Yeah, and your cloud cover is basically half the state. North half of the state is in clouds. South half of the state is in sun or partly cloudy. I got high clouds here, but I have sun.
Yeah. So if
and
you live
that's
in
also
southeast,
your warm front as well. The warm front there is pretty well placed because you can see north of the warm front's cloudy, south of it's pretty darn clear.
it's well defined.
You can also see that. Sorry, go ahead, Joe. I know you're trying to talk.
No, I was going to say, it's cloudy here still. So we're definitely on or north of the warm front right now, just barely. But I can see the sun kind of to my south.
And we can kind of play along here with like a little bit of education with this as well. So when we have that sun as well as cloud, like that pretty distinct line there, you can correlate that well to the instability. You can see here in these red lines, there's your unstable atmosphere is south where the sun shines, but north where the clouds are, there's nothing of instability yet. So that's why sunshine can be and will be important today for destabilizing the atmosphere.
Where are you guys seeing no rain on your weather apps? Because I could see that being like a thing, especially if you live in Southeast Michigan, mainly because confidence is lower there. Again, you guys are in the marginal risk, almost in the thunderstorm category there today. So again, we're low confidence in Southeast Michigan. So you guys could be unscathed for most of the day, even into like the nighttime hours before that last kind of Boeing segment comes through later tonight. But again, that Boeing segment looks like it's going to be for the majority of West Michigan and Southern Michigan. Again, it depends on where it sets up. A lot of moving parts today. Southwest Michigan, no rain. Interesting. Wonder what singular model they're using. Yeah, weather apps are good for temperatures and stuff, but precipitation wise, it's not great. But I could definitely see weather apps saying nothing until later, especially if you live in Southeast.
Right.
Yeah, best way to kind of keep updated again is just following us here, following us on our pages. We'll probably post radar updates throughout the day if nothing's going severe, but things are potentially on the way to being severe. So best way to do that, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. And then, of course, subscribe here on YouTube. You won't miss a live stream.
I do want to point out as well, tomorrow there should not be a severe risk in Michigan, but we are watching next week close.
Lansing, Ingham County, considered probably South Central Michigan.
So there's a comment here I want to address there, Joel, about next Tuesday.
Yeah.
There is a computer model that is showing Michigan at risk potentially for Tuesday. Again, we are still 4-5 days out from that. 4 days.
4 days.
So we have a lot of time to nail this down, but we are watching the time frame Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in particular Wednesday or Tuesday, should I say, for more potential severe weather. And according to this model that we use, which is fairly accurate, usually fairly accurate at least, it does show a pretty good corridor of higher probabilities from Michigan to Wisconsin to Illinois to Indiana back through Iowa. So we're going to watch that. There's no reason to freak out yet. I see a lot of talk on our community page about it, see some comments rolling in about it. So just we're watching it, but confidence and overall like hazards, timing, all that, we just can't get specific with that. So there's no reason to panic at this point. Just keep an eye on it. And that's what we're going to be doing for you guys.
Lake Odessa, you guys at the fair tonight, I would say you guys are probably good through, man, I don't know, because that warm front. I don't want to mislead you guys, but I would say at least between now and probably 2 o'clock, you guys should be good. But again, once you get beyond that 2 o'clock time frame, you guys kind of just want to start watching us watch your weather apps. Whatever you got to do to stay kind of weather aware out there today.
Have ways to receive warnings.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Sirens should be your last mode. Again, they're called outdoor warning sirens, so you're not meant to hear them inside. So if you haven't already, the emergency app by the Red Cross is the one we recommend. It's completely free, and you can customize your alerts, customize your radius and how big you want it to be. So it's a great way to stay alerted out there. I noticed as of lately, it's been delayed by about 3 to 5 minutes sometimes in warnings. However, it's better than nothing. So again, it's emergency by the Red Cross. Someone's asking about how Michigan Storm Chasers came to be, Ryan.
We all kind of knew each other from around Michigan. We decided to start a page, and here we are. We did not expect to be what we are today, but we're just a bunch of people who are passionate about storms, education, chasing, weather in general. Made up of storm chasers. So, I mean, we can go deep into the story later on, but this is a briefing, not going to get too deep and off topic with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like Jazz says, if you have a Midland weather radio, that's probably the fastest way to get your alerts.
Yes, EAS on your phone as well. EAS alerts do sound for destructive severe thunderstorms, so 80 plus miles per hour or baseball size hail.
Mm-hmm.
So baseball size hail and 80 plus miles per hour will sound your alerts as well as tornado warnings on your phone. But weather radios can be programmed like one you have up on your screen here, Midland WR120. That can be programmed for anything from a special weather statement to a flood advisory to a tornado warning to a severe warning to a watch. You can program that, customize it the way you want to for counties around you or specifically your county. So we definitely recommend getting a weather radio if you don't have one already from Midland. We recommend the WR120. You can buy it off Amazon for about $35.
Yeah.
Sirens are set up by the townships. Yes, there are 5 or 6 main ways. We actually have a graphic for that. Dawn here in chat is trying to let people know. So sirens should be the last way to receive warnings, guys. They vary how they sound per locality. So some areas, the dispatchers will sound the sirens when warnings come in. Emergency management in other areas, township officials, fire departments, or some sirens are automated. If a warning is issued, whether tornadic or severe, they'll automatically sound it. So it varies. So some people do it manually, some people do it automatically. So never rely on them, and they're not meant to be heard indoors.
Scott with a $5 super chat says, "Thank you from Rochester Hills. MSC is the gold standard for severe weather coverage here in Michigan." Thank you, Scott, for your kind words and for the support here at MSC. We appreciate you. And then a $1.99 super chat from Chris Penny as well, saying thanks, y'all, and thank you, Chris Penny, for that super chat. Again, our policy here for those who are brand new to the page, we go live for every single severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning in the state, as long as are awake to do so. Usually that's all hours of the day. At least it virtually seems like it. We sometimes stay up late at night until like 4 or 5 in the morning. We do sleep. It's just usually all the warnings occur when we're not sleeping. So
haven't missed one yet.
No. One of these days, someone's gonna hit at like 7 a.m. and we're gonna bite our own words.
What do you think, Joel, about to hop off here?
Yeah, we've been live for 45 minutes here. It's probably a good time again. If that first line, kind of a recap here. First line, mainly beyond and after 1 to 2 o'clock. So Ryan's going to the radar scan there. Wherever the warm front kind of sets up, if any storms can ride that warm front, then we could see a potential for all hazards there. And again, that's going to probably be at least north of 96, kind of south of like the Roscommon area there. So that's pretty much where your best tornado chances are today. And that tornado threat will decrease after this kind of front line goes through. We could still have good rotational signatures later today, mainly in the form of the QLCS with that line coming in, as you can see here later tonight. So we don't want to write off all hazards like completely after the first line comes through. But again, threat will be low, non-zero, kind of with the second and third lines. And again, the further south and southeast you are in Michigan today, so the Detroit, Monroe areas, confidence is very kind of, I'll say very low in terms of severe weather happening, at least early. So you guys can kind of relax a little bit easier today. But again, if you have to go north, further north you go, better chances of severe weather. And if you're traveling south from like Mackinac City, further south you go, better chances for severe weather. QLCS is a mode of severe in terms of like kind of rotational signatures being embedded within a linear line of storms. And so those will usually be high precipitation in nature. And so you wouldn't be able to see it coming, nor will the radar really kind of see it coming. It could be one of those events where we see spin ups within a frame or two. And National Weather Service can only do so much when it comes to like tornadoes touching down really, really quick. Again, we have scans that are as quick as 2 minutes. But again, tornadoes can, lift and touch down within, 1 minute, and that can be one radar scan.
And QLCS kind of looks like this on radar. It's like a line of storms, and on the right, you can see your rain. On the left, though, you can see your velocity here. So they can produce damaging winds, but also they can, spin up some tornadoes. We can kind of see a little bit of a spin and a few of those notches there. It's hard to tell if you don't know how to read radar, but that's kind of how we look, what it looks for. Looks like, should I say. Kendall with Super Chat, live in northern Oakland County in Oxford area. Do you think be put under a tornado watch? Not for Oxford, perhaps north of you, although I would think they would opt for severe today if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm.
Oxford, you should be okay. Should remain north.
Thank you, Kendall.
All right. So with that being said, we're going to pop out of here. Been live about 50 minutes. So we'll have an update video coming out on, it actually is already uploaded to YouTube. So if you guys missed it, feel free to go back and watch this stream, or you can go back and watch the pre-recorded 8-minute long YouTube video that will be posted this morning. Feel free to check that out if you missed the stream. So with that being said, severe risk today continues. Slight risk in effect for a good chunk of lower Michigan. Marginal risk is in place around that slight. So if you live in lower Michigan, you're in a risk today. Highest confidence in overall storm coverage and severity is going to be roughly from Big Rapids over to the thumb of Michigan. So Mount Pleasant, Alma, Saginaw, Flint. Don't sleep on Lansing or Grand Rapids as well. All right. With that being said, I think we're going to pop out of here. We'll go live here later on. I have updates on the page. We do have chasers heading out right now. They're getting in position. And myself and Mike will be on stream for radar later on today. So with that being said, please hit the like button on your way out and consider subscribing to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Helps us out a lot. And you'll be alerted every time we go live or post a new video. All right. Mm-hmm. You guys have a great day. We'll see you guys likely later on today for some severe weather coverage here in Michigan.
Have a good day, everyone, and stay safe out there.